Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today I want to go through crosscut saws. These are gorgeous old beauties that you come across occasionally. This one I was able to purchase at an auction recently for about 40 bucks. And this one I believe I got at a Midwest tool collector's meet. I paid 10 bucks for it because the handle on it's not very great, but it's a functional saw. And I want to go through sharpening both of these. This is a one-man saw, and the tooth dimensions between these are a little bit different, but the cutting method and the sharpening method are really similar. So if you like this voiceover information, I might do a video in the future where I go into a little more detail on how we're sharpening it. But enough of that being said, let's actually dive into sharpening these beautiful saws. Initially, I was just going to do an artistic video on this, and I wasn't going to do a talk through actually talking about what I want to do on this. But I thought in this case it might be a fun time to actually talk through my methodology and what I'm thinking on this. So let's actually dive into that. First thing I want to do is joint all these teeth. I want them all to be at the exact same height. And so I have a little jig that holds the file in place and lets me ride along the saw and bring them all into the same height. And what I want to do is run along them until all of the points have a nice flat shiny spot on them. That way I know all the points are correspond with each other. The next I want to come into the rakers in between. And in these rakers I actually am going to file the center of the gullet down a little bit more and thin them out. They weren't quite as thin as I would like them to be. This allows me to bend them a little bit more without breaking them. So I'm just going to be using a regular triangular file and take down the center just a little bit, just to more or less shape them into place. Once I get that, then I'm going to round over that shape that I just made a little bit and then tap the teeth down. And this will allow me to actually make them more into a chisel point. If I do a video in the future, I may actually go into this a little bit more in detail and talk through this. If you want to see more information on that, I might do that here soon. But I'll leave a link to a long video series down below where you can see a lot more information on what I'm wanting to do. Once I get the shape I'm looking for, I want to file the rakers down to be a little bit lower than the point of the teeth. I don't want the rakers to be running into fresh wood. I only want them to be cutting out the wood that has been sliced on either side by the points. And so once I've filed those down to the appropriate height, then I can come back in with the mill file and bring everything back. You can see how it has a little bit of a flat spot where the file has topped the tooth. And then I can come in with the mill file and clean them out a little bit. And sometimes I'll bring over the triangular files. It works fairly well. I find the mill file tends to work a little bit better. Actually, I think I mixed up this footage. That's filing out the bottom. I'm also going to be cleaning out the mill file, and you'll get this build-up inside, and it makes them cut a little bit slower, so it's easier to come back in and scrape them out. So now you can see how I'm bringing it down until that flat spot just disappears, and I get a nice sharp edge on the edge of that. Basically, these rakers are chisels that run along the groove created by the teeth, and the teeth will cut either side of the groove, and then the raker will come in like a chisel and pare it all out. It's a rather ingenious design and works phenomenally well. And if I do another video where I go into more depth, maybe I'll explain that a little bit better. But for right now, it's one of those things you just kind of gotta grasp. This takes a little bit of time, and I want to be careful because the rakers are incredibly important. I want them to be a little lower than the points, but not too much lower that they don't come into contact. So if you put a straight edge across, there should be just a few thousandths underneath. I think most people like them to be about 12 thousandths or so underneath the points. Now it's time to actually file the points back. And rather than using a triangular file like you would on a hand saw or a crosscut saw, I actually want to bring that mill file in. And my hand is low so that I'm not going at some weird angle. I'm actually running up the tooth. And I'm going to keep going on either side until that shiny spot that I created on the top disappears. So when I jointed all the teeth and ran across them, I create a little bit of a shiny flat spot on the top of every tooth. I want to keep filing away until that flat spot just disappears. And that point you have a nice sharp edge, and you know that point is exactly even all the way across your teeth. And very, very happy. This is one of those things, once you get into a rhythm, it goes really quickly, and it's a great meditative sport. You can see I'm using my regular saw vise. It's not the best vise for it, and if I had the space, I might actually go into making a saw vise designed for one of these. But it works okay. You just have to keep moving it along so that you're not working out in the open. It's also a little bit more flexible because it's not supporting the back of the saw at that point. So next thing I want to do is actually set the teeth, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it, and some people get really, really picky about how you do it. I find if I just put down a semi-soft wood, like walnut in this case, and then just do 2 taps or so on every other tooth, bending the point away from you, then flip it over and do the exact same amount on the other side, that gets it close enough. Now if you really wanted to be precise, there are people out there who have a little spider gauge that will check it. And but I'm not that picky, as you've seen. Now the fun. I'm going to actually take this out into the woods, and this is a park not too far from me, Crosscut State Park. And I'm usually there once or twice a day, and I'll go back into the woods and do a lot of running. I spend most of my time running back there. But I've been known as, my trail name is Logger. And this is one of the concrete bridges nearby that is just jammed up. There was a storm at the end of the fall last year, and it washed a bunch of trees downstream, and so the bridge has been overflowing with water this whole time because several large trees have gotten in the way. So it was a good chance to try out the saws. Now this first log is fairly pithy, and so it cuts really easily, but you can kind of get the idea of learning how to do this. One person just pulls the saw, and the other person lets it go back. You don't want to push it back. And I think I have a clip here in a little bit where you'll see it bind up. No, I think I left that out. But at one point where I push it, ooh, there it goes, and the saw catches in it because I was pushing rather than just pulling. And it goes really quickly. I think it was like 3 minutes or so, and we're all the way through this log. We couldn't bring a chainsaw back here because there's a bird sanctuary, and they don't want all the noise for that, especially with the nesting season. So it doesn't take very long until we cut through this big beast. And now it's in a small enough piece that we can pull out the rest and move it away. Yay! And this is really just a couple guys having fun in the creek, moving logs around and enjoying our time. Yes. This is an old maple log that is incredibly heavy, but so pithy and so waterlogged that it kind of bounces around. So that allowed us to clear out some of the other dross that had been trapped in behind this and let some more water flow. And we got it down so that the water no longer swamped the bridge. So then I could bring it over here. This is a piece of box elder that was sticking out into the trail. And this was a good chance to try out the one-man saw. And you can see I'm going all the way from toe to heel using the full stroke of the saw, slicing all the way across it. And the way this is cutting is the points are cutting on either side of the track, and then those rakers are coming in and cleaning out the material in between. Until all of a sudden it goes crack. Yeah, this cuts through that log. I think it was like 40 seconds or so. It was pretty quick. So then we can actually take a look at the curls, and you'll see all these strings that come out. Those are called noodles, and that's how you know the saw was sharpened fairly well. You're getting those noodles coming out. They're nice and long, and you know that the rakers are doing very good cleaning out in between. When you see noodles, you know you've done a fairly decent job. And I am really, really happy with how this worked, and we had a lot of fun cleaning out the bridge and enjoying our time. I will be spending a lot more time with these in the trail, cleaning things up. So there you go. I am in love with these things, and they are so much fun to take out on the trail and play around with and clean them up. And just, I'm happy. Can you tell? So if enough people like this with just doing a detailed voiceover, I might actually do a more detailed video here soon where I go into the step-by-step and show some of the ideas behind cutting these. But if you want to see more information from another YouTuber who has a fantastic video series on sharpening crosscut saws, I'll leave a link to that down below as well. So I think that'll about do it for today. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Cleared for takeoff.